So because a lot of content creators have really tried to decide that they understand what these fallacies mean, I decided to make a video reacting to every logical fallacy that's been explained. So that way chatters and viewers know what these means before content creators try to manipulate you into believing a term that doesn't apply to their current scenario. Case in point, straw man and cherry picking, and also gaslighting are some of the most misused fallacies. And I think it's very important for the community to understand these words. That way they don't fall for some fake ass bullshit, and make sure to understand the words before you believe that the content creator is using them right. All right? We're gonna get educated, guys. We're gonna get educated. Ad hominem is also great. Let's go.
Ad hominem fallacy. The ad hominem fallacy happens when someone attempts to discredit someone's argument with personal attacks rather than the substance of the argument itself. Hasty general.
So let me give you an example. Some guy says he wants to do a good thing, and you say it's impossible to do this good thing because he did a bad thing before. Just because you did a bad thing before doesn't mean you can't do a good thing now.
Generalization.
That being said, if somebody cheated on somebody else in a relationship, I probably wouldn't recommend dating them.
Generalization, also known as the overgeneralization fallacy, happens when making a claim based on evidence that is just too small. Red herring fallacy.
Yeah, so pretty much I do that one a lot, which is a hasty generalization, where I'll see one Genshin Impact content creator say they like Klee, and then I'll say every Genshin Impact player is a pedophile, right? So I do this one a lot. Hasty generalization, I do that shit non-fucking stop. I'm so goddamn quick to judge, it is such a bad fucking habit. But I am trying to slow things down, as you can tell with my video game reviews. Anyways, I'm aware of my faults. I'm working on them.
A red
herring. Great.
Herring is something that misleads or distracts from a relevant or important question. It might be used to change the subject. Tu quoque.
Yep, but the problem is that people don't understand that. A red herring isn't someone using their own words against someone. A red herring is someone saying, hey, John, you need to go take the trash out. And then you say, oh, dude, mom, look, there's a fucking bomb. And then you run away, right? So that's actually what a red herring is and nothing else.
Okay, fallacy. To quoque is a technique that intends to discredit the opponent's argument by attacking the opponent's own personal behavior and actions as being inconsistent with their argument, therefore accusing hypocrisy instead of countering the actual argument.
Tu quoque. That's really good. That's a really good one. I didn't even know this one had a word. That's a really good one. I need to do that one more. Tu quoque. Tectone, you need to stop clickbaiting so much. Yeah, but you clickbaited one time, so you're a hypocrite. Dude, these debate tactics are so funny. Dude, these tactics are so fucking funny. Insane. All right, cool.
Slippery slope fallacy. In a slippery slope argument, a course of action is rejected because, with little or no evidence, one insists that it will lead to a chain reaction resulting in an undesirable end or ends.
True.
Special pleading
If Genshin Impact doesn't fix their game, I'm gonna kill myself.
Fallacy. Special pleading happens when applying standards, principles, or rules to other people or circumstances, while making oneself or certain circumstances exempt from the same critical criteria without providing adequate justification. Loaded question.
Wait, let's go back to this one again. Special pleading.
Special pleading fallacy. Yeah. Special pleading happens when applying standards, principles, or rules to other people or circumstances, while making oneself or certain circumstances exempt from the same critical criteria without providing adequate justification.
Oh, this one's great. So kind of like a rules for thee, but not rules for me. So when you say what other people can't do, and yet you yourself do it. And I think this is one that a lot of content creators in the space do, where they say this, and that is bad, yet they do the exact same thing. Very smart.
Loaded question. A loaded question is a question that already contains an assumption. False dilemma fallacy.
Yep.
The false dilemma fallacy, also called the black and white fallacy, occurs when someone misrepresents an issue by offering only two options when more exist, or by presenting the options as mutually exclusive when they are not.
Yeah, of course.
Strawman fallacy.
Here's a great one. Here's a great one.
A strawman fallacy happens when one rebuts an argument by misconstruing it. Circular reasoning.
So let's go over this. We should relax the laws on beer.
Fallacy happens when one rebuts a...
So you're saying you want everybody to be an alcoholic. So as we can all tell what a real straw man is versus what people think a straw man is. This is something that I actually never do, but people really think that I do because they don't get what a straw man actually fucking is, right? And they think the moment that you're saying, so you're saying, and so people think it's a straw man, but when you corroborate what they're saying is in essence and not pivoting to an overgeneralization, that is not a straw man. That is understanding what the person is saying and asking for clarity. Big difference. Because what I do is, before I go in for a counterpoint, I say, so is this what you're saying? Oh, it's not? Clarify. Great, I'll go. But what people end up doing is me say, so is this what you're saying? You're straw manning. No, I'm not. I am asking for clarity on what you're saying.
It's an argument by misconstruing it. Circular reasoning. The circular reasoning fallacy is an argument that assumes the very thing it is trying to prove is true. Instead of offering evidence, it simply repeats the conclusion, rendering the argument logically incoherent.
This is another really exhausting one. And parents do this shit a lot. Chad, it's time for me to go. Why? Because it's time for me to go. Why? Because it's time for me to go. Why? If you can continue to repeat the same answer towards the why and it doesn't give the answer, that is because you're doing circular reasoning.
Appeal to authority fallacy.
Okay.
It is a form of argument in which the mere fact that an influential figure holds a certain position is used as evidence that the position itself is correct. Appeal.
Yeah, I agree. I think when people say a doctor told me this or a lawyer told me this, well, at the end of the day, these people aren't exempt from mistakes. And so using that as a undeniable fact is also very dangerous.
To nature fallacy. It's an argument in which it is proposed that a thing is good because it is natural or bad because it is unnatural. It's a fallacy because the unstated primary premise, what is natural is good, is typically irrelevant and an opinion instead of a fact.
True.
Composition fallacy.
It's like how people are afraid of like artificial sweetener, right? It's like, just because it ain't natural doesn't mean that it's not good.
It arises when one infers that something is true of the whole from the fact that it is true of some part of the whole. Division fallacy.
What the fuck is that?
Is that some opinion instead of a fact. Composition fallacy. It arises when one infers that something is true of the whole from the fact that it is true of some part of the whole.
Because the tire's made of rubber, the whole car's made of rubber. I have never seen anybody do this, but this must be the most brain-dead shit I've ever seen.
Division fallacy. The division fallacy occurs when one reasons that something that is true for a whole must also be true for all or some of its parts.
Well, yeah, this is very fair. And I think this one can be used as probably a reference to Atsu, where I think the division fallacy or the composition fallacy, I believe it was called. Yeah, the composition fallacy was where he would say, I don't want to talk to these creators because I see who they hang out with without me even knowing them. But I think it's very important to understand that each people are different, and sometimes people just make bad friends. And I think this is a very horrible, unfortunate that happens very often. But I can at least understand why people do that. Because I'm also underneath the belief that you are the people who you surround yourself with the most. However, from a content creator perspective, I also understand that these content creators aren't really your real friends anyways, so it probably doesn't really matter that much now, does it?
Affirming the consequent. Affirming the consequent is the fallacy of taking a true conditional statement, such as, if the lamp were broken, then the room would be dark, under certain assumptions like it is nighttime and the windows are closed, and invalidly inferring its converse, the room is dark so the lamp must be broken.
Yep.
Anecdotal fallacy. The anecdotal fallacy occurs when people use their limited personal experience to draw sweeping conclusions about a given topic.
My uncle didn't go to college and he's a millionaire, so college is a waste of time. True?
Appeal to emotion.
True? Any truers? Hey, guys. I dropped out of college 3 times and I'm a millionaire. You don't need it.
Emotion fallacy. It's a technique characterized by the manipulation of the other person's emotions in order to win an argument, especially in the absence of factual evidence.
This is what women do. This is what women do. Anyways, this is what Hex Juice did. Anyways, moving forward. Where? I wish, but I gotta feed my cats. Oh, man.
Burden of proof
Guys, can I have a subby wubby? I had a really bad fucking day.
fallacy. The burden of proof lies with the one who makes a claim, not the one who denies it. The burden of proof fallacy happens when a person tries to remove their need to provide proof for many reasons. No true scholar.
True. And I explained this in another conversation I was in, if you are going to accuse someone, on something, you need to understand it's your job. It is your job to provide that fucking proof. It is not the other person's job. You say something, you prove it. And if not, move forward. And that's it.
Scotsman fallacy. It's an attempt to defend a generalization of a certain group by excluding any counterexamples for not being pure enough. Texas sharp.
The only time I can ever think that I might be guilty of that is with Atsu, but then Atsu's own evidence attempting to counterpoint that actually leaned more towards confirming what he said he didn't do rather than disproving what he said he didn't do. And that is the only example I can genuinely think of.
Sharpshooter fallacy. The Texas sharpshooter fallacy takes its name from the metaphor of a gunman shooting and then drawing targets around the bullet hole clusters to make it look like he hit the target. It illustrates how people first figure out what their conclusion is and then go looking for data that supports it,
This is also called confirmation bias,
ignoring differences and randomness. Suppressed,
which means if people want to believe in something, they're going to look up things that support what they want to think rather than things that don't support what they want to think. And this happens to me a lot for people who hate me. And it's like, oh, I don't like Tectone. They're going to Google why I should hate Tectone or bad things Tectone did, not, is Tectone okay? Is Tectone a good guy? Because they want to find more information that feeds into their own echo chamber. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a little different, but it's dangerously similar.
correlative. The attempt to redefine one of two mutually exclusive options so that one alternative encompasses the other, thus making one alternative impossible. Something like, I need to know if we should stop for lunch or not. You are either hungry or not hungry, which is it? If being hungry means being able to eat, I am always hungry. Personal incredulity fallacy. It's committed when the arguer presumes that whatever is true must be easy to understand or to imagine. Ambiguity fallacy. It happens when an unclear phrase with multiple definitions is used within the argument. Therefore, it does not support the conclusion.
What the fuck? I don't know when the fuck that would ever be used, but all right, maybe John Lennon does have 6 legs.
Genetic fallacy. The genetic fallacy is the act of rejecting or accepting an argument solely on the basis of its origin rather than its content.
Wait, should we ban smoking in public? No, the Nazis were the first to ban public smoking. I'm hoping what we're understanding right now is these fallacies are very difficult to understand, and a lot of people misuse them, and that's why when somebody uses them, you should Google it or ask them to explain what they mean rather than accepting what they say at face value, because a lot of people use them fucking wrong.
Content. Middle ground
And a lot of them are also dumb and are never used.
fallacy. It's the fallacy that the truth is always in the middle of two opposites. Affirming a disjunct. The affirming
True. Where it's like, oh, okay, so this guy said this, and then this guy said this, so they're both wrong. No, it's just not true. This happens a lot with content creators. I want to go back to this one, middle ground fallacy, where when one content creator trips and accidentally kicks somebody's dog, and the other content creator kills their entire fucking family, sets fire to multiple forests, and impregnates their wife. Well, they both did something wrong, so they're both at fault. This is what I see on almost every single YouTube video, which is, oh man, this is a nothing burger. They're both wrong. No, you just don't get to say that. Either say who fucked up more, because people who fuck up severely can completely erase someone's responsibility for fucking up a little bit. And if a fuck up is made due to a miscommunication, it is not the same as a fuck up due to malice. Very, very, very fucking different. And I want to drive this home. A mistake due to miscommunication is not the same as an attack of malice. This is why being neutral is brainless, Mr. Pokey, because you need to weigh in on who fucked up more. And did the people who fuck up do it out of bad intentions? That's why it's important to weigh in. Middle ground fallacy sucks fucking balls. It's so irritating. Like when I have content creators coming at me because they go after my personal life. And I say, this guy's a dumb fucking retard and his content sucks. It's not the fucking same. One is severely worse. It is severely worse. And one is due to self-defense. And self-defense is fucking fine. But the amount of comments that I see saying, well, they both fucked up. But you have to understand that what these two people did are way fucking different and should be held to the standard of which they occurred, not balance them out in the middle because you're too fucking stupid to understand the nuance in the middle ground. God, it's insane.
That the truth is always in the middle of two opposites.
Yep.
Affirming a disjunct. The affirming a disjunct fallacy occurs when, given an either-or scenario, you wrongly assume that if one statement or outcome is true, the other one cannot be true. Appeal to tradition.
True.
It happens.
Yeah, like this thing right here. This is great. Affirming to disjunct. This is one that chat uses a lot. Before, I asked if a title of a video was a hate train or not. And because they said, no, the title is clickbait, therefore it can't be hate training, is once again affirming a disjunct. This one's for you, chat. A title can be clickbait and hate farming.
Or outcome is true, the other one cannot be true. Appeal to tradition. It happens when we ignore the evidence that we should change because we have been doing something for a long time. Sunk.
That's Asmongold. So yeah, I don't have to clean my room. My room's always been dirty. It never did nothing to me. Don't matter, is what it is, dude.
Cost fallacy.
It's like when somebody, here's a great one. This one is for gotcha players.
The sunk cost fallacy is our tendency to continue with something we've invested money, effort, or time into, even if the current costs outweigh the benefits. Appeal to.
I say that one quite a lot. Well, I played Genshin for 3 years and I've spent $1,000 on it. Now I have to play it forever.
Ignorance. It happens when someone asserts that a proposition is true because it has not yet been proven false, or that a proposition is false because it has not yet been proven true. Continuum.
I think that one is so reasonable. And I'll keep it a buck. I do that constantly. I think this is so reasonable. And I think there's no way to ever get around that. But yeah, just because something hasn't been proven doesn't mean that it's true. And just because something hasn't been proven true doesn't mean that it's false. Because otherwise, you just can't act off of instinct whatsoever. And I feel like that one will never go away.
Fallacy. It's the argument that two states or conditions cannot be considered distinct, or do not exist at all, because between them there exists a continuum of states. Equivocation. The equivocation fallacy refers to the use of an ambiguous word or phrase in more than one sense within the same argument. Faulty analogy.
What the fuck?
Use of an ambiguous word or phrase in more than one sense within the same argument.
A bat is a mammal. Baseball players use mammals because it's also a bat. That is the dumbest shit.
Faulty analogy.
Okay.
A faulty analogy is saying that two things are alike in other ways just because they are alike in one way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's fair. It's like saying like all Genshin Impact content creators are the same, which is not true.
Denying the antecedent. Denying the antecedent infers the inverse from an original statement. It's something like, if you are a ski instructor, then you have a job. You are not a ski instructor, therefore you have no job.
That's insane, bro. I can't believe people actually fall for these fucking things.
False cause. A false cause fallacy occurs when someone incorrectly assumes that something causes something else without enough proof, usually using just a correlation as proof. Definite.
Yeah, absolutely. See, look at it. This ice cream sales and shock attacks. They're very similar glass, which means they must be related in somehow. Yeah, absolutely. This is a great one. I didn't memorize this one.
Something causes something.
Correlation does not imply causation. Yeah, that's a really good one. A lot of these fallacies are the same, but that's a really good one to use. Correlation does not imply causation. Very true.
Else without enough proof, usually using just a correlation as proof. Definite fallacy. It happens when one defines a term in such a way that makes one's position much easier to defend. Ecological fallacy. Term in such.
Before we argue about homicide, let's define it as population control. That's very smart. Instead of calling it a gambling game. Let's call it a gotcha game. Let's not call Genshin Impact a gotcha game. Let's call it a open world RPG. And let's put gotcha as far back as we possibly can. Let's not call it gambling. Let's call them loot boxes. Let's not call it gambling. Let's call it surprise mechanics. Insane.
Such a way that makes one's position much easier to defend.
True.
Ecological fallacy. Ecological fallacies assume what is true for a population is true for the individual members of that population.
Yeah, a lot of these things are just don't use blanket statements, which is what I argue quite a lot in my videos.
Etymological fallacy. Etymological fallacy is the faulty argument that the true meaning of a word is its oldest or original meaning. Quoting out of context.
Sure.
It's a fallacy in which a passage from a quote is removed from its surrounding matter in such a way as to distort its intended meaning.
Absolutely.
Context may be omitted intentionally or accidentally.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what happens all the time. It's like it would be like saying, Tectone loves to hit animals. When the entire statement was, Tectone would love to hit animals, is something that he would never say and he would never do.
False equivalence.
I get that shit nonstop.
It's a fallacy in which an equivalence is drawn between two subjects based on flawed or false reasons.
John bumped his knee. He got hurt. Fred got shot. He got hurt. But it's way different. And I talk about this shit nonstop. Like, this shit happens to me non-fucking stop. So, let me give you a scenario. So, some guy reacts to me for 3 hours and attacks my personal relationships. Yeah, but Tectone called him a bad name. So, technically, they're both wrong. It's just false equivalence. And people need to understand that there's levels to this shit. Well, Tectone called him a mint picker. Yeah, well, the guy went after his personal fucking relationships and attacked the people in his household. Yeah, but mint picker's pretty mean. Like, it's just not the fucking same, man. I'm sorry, dog, it's just not the same.
Reasoning. Historian's fallacy. Historian's fallacy occurs when one assumes that decision makers in the past viewed events from the same perspective and had the same information as those subsequently analyzing the decision. Inflation of conflict. It's the error of exaggerating the amount of disagreement in a field.
It's for guide makers fucking constantly. Like, there will be a 1% difference between, ready for this? Ready for this, guys? 43311 versus 44111. There was a 2% difference in DPS. So we just have no idea what the fuck to do then.
Incomplete comparison. It's a misleading argument
for early game. For early game.
Popular in advertising. Since the assertion is incomplete, it cannot be refuted. Ludic fallacy.
Wait, what?
Popular to invalidate claims in that field. Incomplete comparison. It's a misleading argument popular in advertising. Since the assertion is incomplete, it cannot be refuted.
I feel like that one's important to understand, but I don't get it. Can someone explain that one to me? 9 out of 10 doctors recommend this toothpaste. Oh. Okay, I get it.
Ludic fallacy. It's a term used to describe how people mistake the kind of uncertainty found in games for the kind of uncertainty found in real life. For example, organized competitive fighting trains the athlete to focus on the game and, in order not to dissipate his concentration, to ignore the possibility of what is not specifically allowed by the rules.
Sure.
Moralistic fallacy.
Makes sense.
Making statements about what is, on the basis of claims about what ought to be, in violation of fact-value distinction. Nirvana fallacy.
Fair.
Comparing a realistic solution with an idealized one, and discounting or even dismissing the realistic
Nirvana fallacy. Making underage drinking illegal is nonsense. Kids will find a way around the rules.
solution as a result of comparing it to a perfect world or impossible standard.
So what this is saying, when you make a rule and people dismiss it because realistically, some people will break that rule, so therefore it shouldn't be followed, when in reality, making the rule isn't to make everybody follow it, it's to reduce the amount of people who do the thing that you don't want them to do. Dismissing something because it doesn't have 100% effectiveness rate. How do I relate this to me? This one also applies to me. Okay, so dismissing something because it doesn't have 100% effectiveness rate. So that's why what I say is that content creators should make videos saying how they actually feel about Genshin Impact. And then another creator says, As if leaving a 1-star review will do anything about it. As if making a video will do anything about it. I should be the only motherfucker being praised for fucking playing Genshin Impact. Okay, great. So this is the Enviosity situation. Great. Okay. We found a way to relate it back to me. So this is Enviosity. Great. Nirvana fallacy. Amazing. 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 Okay. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Great. Okay. So this is what we call the mint picker fallacy.
Proof by assertion.
Yep.
It's a fallacy in which a proposition is repeatedly restated, regardless of contradiction and refutation. The proposition can sometimes be repeated until any challenges or opposition cease, letting the proponent assert it as fact solely due to a lack of challengers.
You're doing this for content. You're doing this for content. You're doing this for content. Okay, I'm good. You're doing this for content. I told you I didn't want the call. You're doing this for content. Oh, okay, I'll just fucking leave then. Yeah, you see, he left because he knew I was right. He's not gonna call me because he's afraid of me because he knows I'm right.
Cherry picking. It's the act of pointing to individual cases or data that seem to confirm a particular position while ignoring a...
Where's the proof? Where's the proof? But here's the thing. If you ask for the proof and they don't provide the proof, that's their fault. It's very different when someone says, you're doing this for content, and then you show with proof that you didn't do it for content, versus you saying, where is the proof of your accusation? Them providing nothing and you reaffirming it because you know they don't have it. So,
significant portion of related and similar cases or data that may contradict that position.
True.
Psychologist's fallacy.
True.
It's
Let's go back, because cherry picking is very important to understand.
challengers. Cherry picking. It's the act of pointing to individual cases or data that seem to confirm a particular position while ignoring a significant portion of related and similar cases or data that may contradict that position.
Tectone is always negative about the games he plays. What about Honkai Star Rail, Wuwa, and Zenless Zone Zero? No. I was only talking about Genshin Impact. Oh. So, hopefully that makes sense again. Tectone doesn't help the community at all. What about the Voice Actor Podcast, the over $500,000 he's done in giveaway, the over $150,000 he's raised for charity, the countless of smaller content creator he collaborates and highlights with React videos, and also the Discord server he made for the community to be able to talk to more together, as well as also doing a lot of guides back in the day. Oh, well, no, that doesn't make any sense. He called this guy a mint picker. What about the weapon banner? Yeah, but he called this guy a mint picker.
Psychologist's fallacy. It's a fallacy that occurs when an observer assumes that his or her subjective experience reflects the true nature of an event. Reification fallacy. It happens when an abstract concept is treated as if it were a concrete, real event. Something like saying that evolution selects which traits are passed on to future generations, while evolution is not a conscious entity with will.
Okay.
Retrospective determinism. It's the thought that because something happened under some circumstances, it was therefore bound to happen due to those circumstances.
Right.
Thought terminating cliche. It's a form of loaded language, often passing as folk wisdom, with the function of stopping an argument from proceeding further, ending the debate with a cliche rather than a point.
Oh my God, dude. It's like when people say, oh yeah, this drama was a nothing burger. It's a nothing burger. It's a nothing burger. It's a nothing burger, man. I said it's a nothing burger, therefore we should not talk about it. Or we can acknowledge what fucking happened and stop saying that. It's insane.
Fallacy of the single cause. It occurs when it is assumed that there is a single, simple cause of an outcome, when, in reality, it may have been caused by a number of small causes.
This is Asmon. Well, why'd they do it? Because they're stupid. Yeah, because they're stupid, and that's it. Yeah, because they're dumb.
Appeal to the stone. It happens when a dismissal is made by stating or reiterating that the argument is absurd without providing further argumentation. Ignoratio elenchi. Ignoratio elenchi, also called missing the point, is the fallacy of presenting an argument that may or may not be logically valid and sound, but whose conclusion fails to address the issue in question.
The president's policies on healthcare may be popular, but he is a spy and should probably be investigated. Those have nothing to do with each other, dude. Ignoratio elenchi.
Circumstantial ad hominem. Stating that the arguer's personal interest in advancing a conclusion means that their conclusion is wrong.
This tractor's the most reliable one. Yeah, right, you just want to sell it. This one is also very interesting because this one is, if you speak positively of a Hoyoverse game, that's because you're a shill. If you speak positively of a Kuro Games game, that's because you're a shill. If you do a sponsor, that immediately means that you don't like the product. This one is constantly used by viewers towards content creators.
Tone policing, an ad hominem fallacy that focuses on the emotion behind a message rather than the message itself as a discrediting tactic.
Okay, but hear me out. All right. Now, I will admit, I am 1,000,000% a tone police. Okay? But let me explain why. Because if you raise your voice to me one more fucking time, I'm going to knock you the fuck out. And if you raise your voice, I'm going to raise my voice. And you don't want that to happen. I'm doing this shit as a warning. And then they can say it again once they lower their tone. Okay? Because I'll be real, I match emotions. And I'm sure no one wants to see a screaming fight on Twitch. Because you got to understand, when emotions get out of control and then both people are angry, nothing's going to happen. I am 1,000,000% a tone police. Absolutely. You ain't knocking anything out, homie. Okay, bro.
Association fallacy. It's the fallacy that asserts that properties of one thing must also be properties of another thing if both things belong to the same group.
Someone give me an example of this. I feel like there's one right there, but I'm too stupid to think of one right now. All Asians must be smart at math. Okay, so this is like racism. Oh, wait, so this is just racism? Oh, that's insane. Oh, okay. Thanks, guys.
Another thing if both things belong to the same group. Appeal to accomplishment. It's kind of an appeal to authority fallacy. It happens when an assertion is deemed true or false based on the accomplishments of the proposer. Courtier's reply.
This one has a lot to do with Wake and Canute. These guys are jacked. They must know what they're talking about for working out because they're jacked. Then they tell me to do this goofy ass shit that just makes me feel like my bones are exploding.
When a criticism is dismissed by claiming that the critic lacks sufficient knowledge, credentials, or training to credibly comment on the subject matter. Appeal to consequences. Knowledge, credential, apply. When a criticism is dismissed by claiming that the critic lacks sufficient knowledge, credentials, or training to credibly comment on the subject matter.
Is that not a fair thing to do? Like, hey, bro, you don't even work here, shut up. I feel like this is fucking fair. So, I guess this would be Gotcha, Smack, and EO for their fighting game argument, right? Like, oh, you're not a fighting game player? You don't know. I think this one really depends on the circumstance. But I do also think it's also fine to discredit someone's opinion because they're not qualified. Is that a bad thing to do? I don't know. It's not because the counter argument doesn't prove your side. That's fair. Like, you don't need to be a mathematician to prove 1 + 1 = 2. That's very fair. I think there are scenarios where this can be fine, and I think there's scenarios where it cannot be fine. I think it's really going to depend on the nuance.
Appeal to consequences. It's an argument that concludes a hypothesis to be either true or false, based on whether the premise leads to desirable or undesirable consequences.
The stock market will go up this year. A lot of people will lose money if they don't. Yeah, well, unfortunately, the world sucks.
Appeal to novelty. It happens when a proposal is claimed to be superior or better solely because it is new or modern. Bulverism.
Yeah, guys, you got to get the new iPhone. It's crazy. You want to spend $1,400 to get it now.
It is the assumption and assertion that an argument is flawed or false because of the arguer's identity. Chronological snobbery. Chronological snobbery considers modern ideas superior to those from earlier ages just because they are modern. It's a form of appeal to novelty.
Recency bias. So essentially, Jujutsu Kaisen must be better than Naruto because it's newer. Okay.
Entitled to my opinion fallacy. When a person discredits any opposition by claiming that they are entitled to their opinion instead of logically analyzing said opposition. By claiming that they are entitled.
Yep. Uh-huh. The worst thing ever. Yeah, well, I said all this dumbass shit, but it's my opinion, so I'm allowed to say it. Yeah, but it's my opinion, so I'm allowed to say it. You can't say anything about me, because it's my opinion. That's my headcanon, and that's how I feel. Yeah, remember that? Yeah, I remember that. I remember when you motherfuckers in chat, too, were saying, on Tectone, it's his opinion, he's allowed. Sorry, man. They're wrong. If your opinion is wrong, then you're wrong. It doesn't matter if you say the trees are blue and my cat is purple. Unless you're from fucking Cowboy Bebop, Your opinion is fucking wrong. An opinion can be wrong. Can an opinion be wrong? Yes, that's why it's called an opinion and not a fact. Yes, but if your opinion, right? If your opinion is solely fucking wrong, then yes, it is a shit fucking opinion and you should be made fun of 1,000,000 fucking percent. If your opinion is stating something is factual, then yes, your opinion is wrong. Abso-fucking-lutely. And also, even if your opinion is on something that you enjoy, your opinion can still suck balls. An opinion is subjective. It is if it's about a subjective thing, right? But if an opinion is about a fact, then it's also just not true. You can't say, I'm entitled to my own opinion. If it's based on a false premise, then it should be changed. Absolutely. Great.
Entitled to their opinion instead of logically analyzing said opposition. Two wrongs make a right. It's an argument in which an allegation of wrongdoing is countered with a similar allegation.
This one is true. Two wrongs most certainly don't make a right, but it most certainly makes me feel better. If somebody fucks with me, I am going to fuck with you.
Vacuous truth. A claim that is technically true but meaningless, such as claiming that no mobile phones in the room are on when there are no mobile phones in the room.
Oh, okay, great.
Fallacy. It's saying that when an argument contains a fallacy, its conclusion must be false. If you like this format, check out...
True, dude. Insane fucking video. So moral of the story is, I'm right. Everybody else is wrong. Hopefully this makes sense. I didn't mean that. Are you still here? Guys, we all make mistakes, but you're allowed to argue about someone else's opinion, and people really need to understand that.